Back in 2010, we had a blizzard. We had feet of snow in February. And I was out in the snow screaming at God, source, creator, whatever you want to call this energy. It's very pure. It's pure love. It's unconditional love. It's creation energy. And I think it's too intense to just put one name, one label on it. And I think that's why we all identify with it in different ways. But I was out here screaming at it. And with all that was in me, like everything that was in me, whole body screaming. And to understand this, you would need to know that my husband at that time had been murdered in July, a few months prior, 6-7 months prior to this. And I really wasn't handling it very well at all. And what I wanted was a moment with him. I didn't get to say goodbye. I didn't get to, and even if it was just a moment, and screaming, begging, pleading, crying. And that's the last thing I remember about the earthly part. My daughter, where she was, saw something shoot across the sky over where I live. And I don't have the drawing now. That was a long time ago. But what she drew, it didn't look like the round orbs we see. And it didn't really look like a flash, a shooting star, or a comet, but it kind of did look like a shooting star comet kind of thing with color. It was shooting over here. So she told her husband at that time, something's happened to Mom. Look at the sky. Look what's shooting across the sky over top where she lives. We've got to get there. And how they got down in here, I don't know. Because when they called an ambulance, the ambulance couldn't get down in here. I don't know how they got down in here. But they got down in here. And they came inside. And I was not to be found anywhere. And it's kind of embarrassing to admit this, but in February, we still had Halloween decorations outside, laying in the snow. They had been snowed on and whatnot. I don't know why they were still there. But while she's inside, the friend they had with them that, just jumped in the car and rode with them, kept coming inside and saying, I think your mom's outside. And no, that's Halloween decorations. And this went on for a while until he finally picked me up, brought me inside and said, no, I think this is your mom. And put me down on the couch. And I was frozen solid all the way through. We don't know how long I laid there. I don't know how long a person lays there before they freeze to death. And I don't know how long it takes a human body to freeze solid all the way through. But that's the condition they found me in. And they called an ambulance. An ambulance couldn't get down in here, so they had to park up wherever and bring the stretcher down, walk down, carry it. My clothes had frozen to my body. Everything was frozen. Kind of the way it was described to me was like when you put roast beef or something, you wrap it with saran wrap and put it in the freezer, and it sits there for however long. So I was transported to a local hospital, and I'm told in the medical records I pulled, because a lot of this I had trouble really believing it. So I pulled the medical records, because when people are going through stuff, they remember their own way. So I pulled the medical records and it's all there. But there was some kind of gradual thawing process. And you're wrapped in this bubble wrap kind of stuff. And I don't know if you're fully submerged, partially submerged, but it's a gradual process. So they thawed my body out. But they had to replace all my blood because it had started breaking down. It was what's called coagulated. So they had to flush out all my blood, put on new blood in. I've seen people talk about NDEs. I consider mine a resurrection, not an NDE. And I was gone 24 plus, who knows how many hours. So I don't consider this a near-death thing. Where I was very much alive. And I rose, and my body rose. I consider it a resurrection thing, a hopeful, happy thing. An NDE is when people, their heart might stop and then they come back. They're gone, however. But no, my body was decomposing. It was when people talk about NDEs. I hear about tunnels and a light at the end of a tunnel. I hear about a lot of things, and that's not at all what I experienced. Not at all. Um, when I experienced was, I was with my second husband briefly. I say briefly, but I don't know how long it really was. Communication, there is communication. It's not telepathic. And that wasn't my experience. People say that, but that may have been their experience, but it wasn't mine. You feel it. It's very clear you feel it. And that was a beautiful thing. And then there was this like moment where a total merge with source, total merge with that energy. I became that energy. Totally became merged with it, totally became one with it, totally became that energy. And what's communicated with that energy is also felt, but it's extreme. It's so extreme. I don't often say this, because to say this, someone might try to do this, but if you cause it to happen, this is, you may not go where you want to go. But that emotions we feel here, in my experience, at their most extreme, is just enough to identify what's being communicated. So you don't flip out when you feel it, because it's so intense, like love. And that's what I felt. Intense, such intense love, that had I not felt love in an extreme way here, it may have overwhelmed me to the point where it would have just freaked me out. It's so intense. It's just, I merged with that. And when merged with that source energy, and it's just unconditional love. I mean, it's just all it was. Total, full, unconditional love. I love like we don't experience here. It's just so extreme. And then I felt an incredible sense of dread. And that was because I knew what that meant. I was coming back. And I didn't want to come back. I really didn't. But I was coming back. And I can remember, and that's when I opened my eyes and I'm like, what's going on here? And then, yeah, it was hell for a while, because I really didn't want to be here. I didn't want to leave there. But if the communication was clearly felt, then I knew I was coming back. I remember feeling, questioning about purpose. We talk purpose, we talk mission. I remember feeling the communication was that my purpose was to be unconditional love, which makes the merge make sense. But at the same time, here I am merged with source. It's being communicated to me what my purpose is. And say what you want to about being disrespectful to that energy, but I was like, no, that's stupid. That's just who I am. That's not some big mission. That's not some big intense purpose. That's not something to achieve or do. That's just who I am. It's what I do. It's who I am. And it gets communicated to me very clearly. That's who you are, because you're designed according to purpose. You're not going to eat with your eyeball, and it's going to come quite natural. You are created according to your purpose. It was a place that was so vast. I couldn't begin to say how vast it was. It was like infinitely vast. It was beautiful, beautiful. I would like to say the flowers were made of crystals and things like this, only because that's the closest way to describe it in a human context, that it could be humanly understood. It's very difficult to describe. It's just like we have air here, but what you have there are like vibrations, frequencies, and it's all peace, love, and that's because that's all there is there. There is none of the other garbage, and it's so intense, and it's so beautiful, and we are known there as we are known here, in terms of, if you want to connect with the loved one, all you got to do is feel into it. I saw my grandfather. He was young, he was healthy, he was happy, and he knew me. My husband who had been murdered, we were sitting together, but I don't know quite how to describe it. everything's alive. The water is alive. Everything's around you is alive. But you're not in human form, so you don't really need that. Yeah. Yet it's beautiful and so enjoyable, and I guess some people might call that heaven. I don't know what I'd call it, but it was just wonderful. When I did a full complete merge with source, I was light. And when I when I would feel into someone and I would see them, they, I would see them visually. I mean, they were there the way I knew them on earth, in a very real way. But the communication was through the heart. It wasn't with words or telepathy. And it was all love. It was all good. It was all good. No memory of, like, I had no idea what was going on back here. I have no memory of any accident or any kind of anything. They never did figure out a cause of death. They never did figure out what happened to me. Months later, I was at my primary care physician, doctor that I'd been doctoring with since I was a child. And I was sitting there. I had these little tiny heels on my boots, little tiny spiky heels, because I worked mental health. And we had casual dressy. I didn't really have clothes to be out there doing that. And my husband had always taken care of that. And I was out there in those, and we're sitting here talking to my doctor, and I crossed my legs, and he's like, "Were you wearing those?" I'm like, "Yeah." He said, "Haven't you lived here all your life? Don't we know better than to go outside in the snow?" I was like, "In those?" He said, "We're going to say you slipped and fell and hit your head, because we need to conclude this." I'm like, "Yeah, okay, that works. I know what happened, so who cares? If you need that for your record, fine." Yeah. I do think when we tap into that energy of creator, God, source, the universe, if we are with our entire being, all the energy that's in us, making a connection with that, we're heard. And I know that's what happened. I was heard.